The following video contains spoilers. We suggest watching the episodes alone in the dark. Happy Valentine's Day, Wolfpack! Today is the most romantic day of the year, so let's celebrate with a review on another supernatural love story from the beloved 2000s Twilight Zone. That's right, the infamous G3 Twilight Zone show had another supernatural Valentine's Day special, and it's what we're going to be discussing for this year's Love Day.
Hooray! It's Love Day! I'm all about the feels! This Love Day is going to be so lovingly lovely! I love you, Cat! And I love you, Scaredy Cat! And I love you, Catalyst! And I love you, Cat Tina! And I love everyone! Because love, 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 love! Ow! Love!
I'll take her off your paws. Just get this travesty over with. Okay, thanks. Happy Valentine's Day. Don't push it, vermin. Sheesh, touchy. So anyways, it's Valentine's Day. We have a horror show trying to deliver us a dark romance horror story. And we've got to review something today, so this is happening. Around the time when this tale came out, the 2000s Twilight Zone was still trying to find its footing for its unknown audience. This episode was one of the first few horror shorts the show developed in the early stages of its hopeful production, which you can tell since there was actually a genuine effort in this story, and you could tell that the producers tried their hardest to make this show good before sinking to the levels of the Maple Street remake and iffy political hot topics. After following the reboot for a while, I kind of detected a certain pattern of episode themes that each story did to add a little variety to their formula, just to prevent the show from being one flavor of the week. This pattern is in the first handful of episodes. The show would have a grim horror story with a dark, serious atmosphere, then a wacky comedy adventure, then an emotional drama, then a very controversial political tale where the show tries to backtalk modern American society, which usually sucked. And then a softcore porn episode posing as a supernatural and emotional love story that had the writing of a fanfic. That's the one we're taking a look at tonight. Though this romance story here did seem to have a valiant effort. There were some nice emotional stories too, which were surprisingly good, despite some dents. However, as you can probably guess, it did also have the issues which most of the 2000s Twilight Zone tales had, which we'll get into throughout the whole review. All I just wanted to say was that this episode is slightly better than the last Valentine's Day abomination we sat through for this unpredictable reboot. Just a reminder to everyone, the last time we did a reboot Twilight Zone episode for Valentine's Day, we ended up with a creepy horn dog jacking off on a VR porn game, and a crappy twist involving cheating lesbians. So my hopes for this one being good might be a small chance that this show can amount to something more after all. Or it might still piss us off when we see the end results. Please, G3 Twilight Zone, show us something good. Please? Oh boy, here we go. This is my Valentine to you, Wolfpack. Is this grim romance a supernatural experience that can shake us to the core with its disturbing horror? Or is it all simply a lousy gift that needs to be trashed faster than yesterday? Let's find out. This is my holiday review on the reboot Twilight Zone's horror love story, Dream Lover. Is that really the title? Oh, nuts. So, our episode opens up inside of a cabin in the woods,
In the middle of nowhere.
where we meet our main character, a struggling graphic novel artist named Rmile Nox, who is suffering from a severe case of writer's block, as pointed out by our narrator, Forrest Whitaker.
The blank page. For some, it's a nightmare. Our story tonight is about a writer caught in just such a nightmare. Desperately in search of inspiration, he has taken up refuge in a secluded chalet, dead center, in the Twilight Zone.
The Twilight Zone narrator is so the Watcher. Our main protagonist is actually played by criminally underrated actor Adrian Pasdar, who you might recognize from Heroes, which I don't watch, so don't expect any clips from it. He's also the most popular voice actor for the invincible Iron Man from Disney's Marvel cartoons. So clearly if he's on here, then this was a low point in Iron Man's career. What a shame.
Oh, I think that other Iron Man's career is just as worse. Whoa!
Andrew is a cynical loner who came to this isolated area so he could be alone with his thoughts and rediscover his lost creativity. I mean, didn't that idea work out so well for Jack Nicholson? All joking aside, I can relate. We artsy types usually try to separate ourselves from the rest of the world to be alone with our thoughts, since it allows us to create without any interruption. It's understandable and makes him much more unique, so some of us can feel for the guy. But so far, the results of his journey have not been positive. Andrew can't seem to come up with any ideas, but that all soon changes when he has a wet dream where he bangs Shannon Elizabeth? Holy cow, it's Nadia, the hot foreign exchange student from American Pie! For those of you who are in the dark on who this is, supermodel Shannon Elizabeth was once a well-known sex symbol in the early 2000s, where she often played the hot chick in multiple movies to ramp up the spicy romance writing. She was in such hits like Scary Movie, Jay and Silent Bob, and of course American Pie. Tragically, I can't show you guys any of her, famous clips because the censors will kill our channel. Just know that she always plays the hot chick in everything, which is pretty much her entire reasons for being here on the Twilight Zone. She is Andrew's ideal perfect girlfriend, and he has lots of that sweet sex with her. As shown here, where Nadia does what she does best, look sexy and then making out a lot. To her credit, she's still better than Megan Fox. Alas, it was all just a dream, which Andrew sadly awakens from. Funny, usually these bad Twilight Zone episodes ends on the just a dream cliche, not open with them. Weird. He glances at his unfinished drawings, where he figures that he was just fantasizing after working himself too hard, so he chalks it all up to being nothing. But then, he apparently used Alan Miller's magic paintbrushes, because his sweet hot waifu magically comes to life and enters the real world. Yep, Nadia is real now, just like that. How? Who cares? The two of them just bonk.
This isn't a dream. Not anymore. Holy fuck, is this wrong? But holy hell, is it erotic?
We cut to an hour later where Nadia looks totally bored after sex. Geez, evidently Adrian Pasdar is super bad in bed if that's the look she gives. However, Andrew is more impressed that she's imaginary yet can really interact with him, at least to some extent. Wait, if his hand can go through her, then how the heck did they even do it? Wait, stop, I don't want to know. What we do learn is that our supernatural female lead is a lady named Sandra, who proclaims her love to Andrew, as he in turn cherishes his imaginary girlfriend, whom he loves a whole lot too. Aw, that's cute. But enough of that emotion crap, because we cut to the next morning where Andrew wakes up alone in bed, finding his imaginary waifu gone. He assumes that it was all just another dream he had while he was drunk, and was just feeling a bit too obsessed with his waifu concepts. See, there's a single beer bottle, which means he was totally wasted last night. Oh well, he goes back to drawing his novel art, but unfortunately, he still suffers from his writer's block. However, Andrew soon hears somebody inside the house with him. No, not quite. We get a decent amount of suspense of Andrew searching the whole house, armed with his brewski, but surprise! He sees that it was just his waifu baking them breakfast. Lucky. I wish my fictional girlfriend would bake me breakfast, but they just stay asleep in their drawing world. This is where we get some character depth for Sandra. She's apparently a mysterious yet kind-hearted woman who is trying to make the best of their relationship, but also trying to learn more about herself. Real intriguing stuff. Though not to diss Shannon Elizabeth, but she does look kind of creepy in some of her night scenes. To the point where I wasn't sure if some of her creepy smiles and shadowy angles were done intentionally to make her more ominous, or just by mistake. Either way, it does add some nice, unnerving mystery around the lady. Ugh, stop smiling like that. You look like you're going to kill us all in our sleep. Andrew is shocked to see that she's indeed real, and questions all this, worried that he might be crazy. However, Sandra comforts him, informing him that no, he's not crazy or imagining all of this. She is real, and really interacting with the world. Oh, well, if the imaginary dream lover says that, then it totally must be true, right? She says that they need each other, not just as a relationship, but as equal partners benefiting each other's lives. You see, Sandra is attempting to give both of them the self-confidence and inspiration they need to get their lives back on track. They absolutely need their motivating drive back in their lives, and she believes that their love will grant them the drive to finish up that novel Andy's been working on. Basically, it's a supportive relationship where they can be lovers and coworkers, traveling down this rocky mountain that we call life, and all that jazz. She tells Andrew that she's simply his dream lover. Everything they could ever want in a romantic partner is finally here in their lives. Not only is she a beautiful, compassionate, supportive girlfriend, but she's also a positive influence in his life. Oh, I know who my dream lover would be. It's a simple character motivation, but one that does kind of work for this small-scale episode. Andrew agrees that his fictional girlfriend has a point, and he considers Sandra his muse to help him finally finish up that book. The two get horny over this intriguing idea, but they get cock-blocked by Andrew's stereotypical big-wig Hollywood agent, unexpectedly visiting. Ooh, when will the drama ever cease? I'll be blunt and warn you guys that the big-wig Hollywood agent is easily the most cartoony character in this. He's really the typical money-grubbing snarky agent who drives his expensive sports car, drags his weekend hoe around, and speaks in a really silly, exaggerated way to sound like a dick. He's a bit too ridiculous to take in seriously in this otherwise dramatic adventure. However, I can't say that he's entirely useless to the plot because his limited interactions with the characters in this one scene does kind of foreshadow the grand twist. So, good work for the writers at least maintaining the clever story elements here, but bad job on the agent's personality. The cliched Hollywood agent is here to collect the artist's comic book draft, which causes Andrew and Sandra to hide in fear from him because they have nothing. Noticing his lack of confidence, Sandra honestly tries to be a good girlfriend by convincing the poor guy to have a backbone and stand up for himself instead of hiding.
Do you think Stanley ever hid from his agent?
Well, that depends. Have you seen Daredevil? Sadly, the agent leaves pissed off, while Andrew fails to gain his attention in time. Aw, that's sad.
All around me are familiar faces, worn out places, worn out faces.
When he gets back inside, Sandra reveals that she just finished cleaning his workspace, earning our misunderstood loner's love for her even more, as he admires how she really is his perfect dream lover after all. It's almost enough to defrost this icy feline's cold, cold heart. One day, Selena. One day. Sandra cleared his work environment to help him clear his mind, so he can feel like he can create again. She promises Andrew that they can have some sweet, sweet sex after his work is done, which instantly kicks him into hard work overdrive because our protagonist begins rapidly drawing and writing out his new comic book pages. So wait, the promise of sex with Shannon Elizabeth is what encourages him to get through work? You know, that actually might just be the most realistic part of this whole franchise. So I buy it. I'm just pointing out how it's weird that he never thought to clean up his own desk for himself if that was something he needed to think clearly. But Artsy Andrew is back in action, where we soon get this very weird drawing montage played to the most bizarre soundtrack ever. Is he trying to practice being a better artist, or practicing to be the Black Panther? Impressed by his great success, Andrew goes to find Sandra to brag about what he got accomplished, but he finds her gone, where it's revealed that she's talking to the cable guy? What? Others can see the imaginary girlfriend too? What madness is this? Andrew rightfully questions this, but Sandra vaguely replies that perhaps she's not as invisible anymore as they both thought.
What the hell does that mean?
Well, it's actually kind of a small clever moment foreshadowing what's to approach, but I won't give it away until you reach the twist ending. All I will say is that this is a pretty nice plot development, granting something greater to Sandra's character beyond being the hot piece of tail. So it's really a decent shift here, writers. Andy briefly asks some questions to Sandra, but soon gets jealous of her getting so close to another guy. Yes, seriously, he gets jelly that his waifu was talking to the cable guy. He's not shocked at how she's growing real and powerful, but that she was flirting with the cable guy.
What's the problem? You were busy, so I took one.
What's the problem? You weren't alone. You're hanging out with the cable guy.
You know how those cable guys are, always showing up when you least expect them.
Wait, they do? I didn't know that. Since when do cable guys just show up at random? Hello, cable guy, here to fix your TV. Dull. How the heck did they even get up here? We're in space! Back in the plot, Andrew soon turns into a clingy, jealous guy and argues with his fake girlfriend, causing a rift to form between them. Yep, the seeds of distrust have been planted. And to make things even worse, he gets no sex tonight! Oh no! I can't believe being a petty dick to my girlfriend would aggravate her so horribly! How could this be? Oh, by the way, this downward spiral into being a petty, jealous jerk of a boyfriend is now Andrew's character arc. Yep, he goes from a troubled, yet sympathetic artist you could possibly feel for, into a petty bastard boyfriend who's on par with Midsummer's idiot boyfriend. Now, I do want to assure you guys that I'm not against the idea of a pathetic guy transforming into the true villain, but one of my issues with this episode is how it gets handled. The second half of this plot is all about Andrew essentially becoming an abusive, controlling dick of a boyfriend towards his imaginary girlfriend. It shows us that while she may be his dream lover, she is still a person too, and men do need to get it through their thick skulls to treat their lady with respect and the appreciation that they deserve. Despite being imaginary to Andrew, his girlfriend still needs to be treated with respect like a real woman would be. His controlling attitude and his petty jealousy are showing us the true reasons why Andrew is all alone and isolated. He can't get a girlfriend not because nobody would ever love him, but because he himself has a lot of personal problems which he needs to improve upon on his own. We're seeing the man who Andrew really is deep down underneath his sad exterior and desire for a woman in his life. He's an angry control freak that needs everything, including his girlfriend, to be the way he wants it. He wants what he values as perfect and often ignores his imperfect ideas as trash or completely wrong. Andrew is a dick deep down who refuses to grow up and change himself because he finds it too difficult to work on his own problems, ranging from his comic book concepts to his own love life. He simply gives up and feels sorry for himself rather than improving as a person. Sandra tries to change him, and for a moment he did amount to something great, as he did complete tons of work. However, his petty jealousy and extreme anger is what ultimately drags him down. His insecurities are engulfing him and leading him down the dark side. Now that all sounds great, you might say, so what's the problem? Well, it happens way too fast. Like, way too quickly. For half the episode, we're feeling sympathy for the poor artist trying to get his life back on track. Then, as soon as he spots his woman so much as talking to another guy, he spirals into total dick mode just like that. His sad moments just vanish after this, and he changes into an abusive control freak from here on out. For half the episode, he's a poor soul all alone, then the next minute, he's an out-of-control abuser. My problem is that it doesn't feel like a gradual change. It just feels like an on-off switch. One moment he's good, then after one not-so-horrible issue, he's evil. I mean, come on, Twilight Zone. This is the perfect chance to understand the mind and descent of an abuser, yet you don't take advantage of it when it's right there in front of you? It just feels like a waste of a character arc, only being done just to hold on to the big twist ending. Not to mention, it makes the audience completely hate Andrew now, since all his dick moments will erase any positives you felt for him, as you will all see soon enough. The next day, Andy mopes like a 5-year-old brat, and then goes out of his way to criticize his waifu for not dressing hot like how he likes her as, where Sandra then tells him that she's heading out for some air. And much to Andrew's and our utter shock, she can drive the real car. Wow, Sandra's getting so real that she can now use and take real-world objects? Or can she? This action pisses off Andrew because he can't control her anymore, and he fears that his waifu can leave him now. Good. And just in case any of you were holding on to a small speck of hope that Andy could still be sympathized with or redeemed, he goes out of his way to stalk his dream lover, hitchhikes across town, and runs on foot to force Sandra to come back to him.
Oh, God. Holy fuck, is this wrong?
Yep, Andrew is officially the villain. He attempts to coerce her into coming back to him and staying trapped in their house since he is the reason why she exists. But it leads to them bickering again, where she informs him that it's so over. But things get even worse when he sees that she's dating the cable guy. Wait, the cable guy actually brings his cables along with him on their date? Huh? Is this like a thing that just happens with people on their dates? Has anyone ever brought stuff from their work with them on their romantic getaways? That'd be as weird as me bringing my laptop and microphone with me on my dates. Just because. It's just a pretty weak reason to inform the audience that Sandra is now dating the cable installer because he had no reason to bring his cables with him on a date. But yeah, the fantasy just got smashed by a truck called reality, and now his waifu no longer wants anything to do with Angry Andy. Good. Our villain protagonist tries ordering her to obey him again because he made her, but she blows him off in favor of the hot cable guy because he's a nice guy who treats her with respect. What? A girl who loves nice guys? What spore of insanity is this? I give this episode mad props for crapping all over the all girls love bad boys trope, because encouraging shy girls to give us nice guys a chance is honestly something so important to teach the ladies out there these days. So I love this episode even more than the cries of Sky Bomber. Epic praise to you, Reboot Twilight Zone, epic praise. But don't get too comfortable. Nice guys don't finish last after all. However, when the cute cable guy comes out, he strangely fails to notice Angry Andy, and when the dick confronts him, this happens.
Stay away from her, you hear me, you son of a bitch? I get it. And my dream girl's my dream guy.
What? Andy can't interact with him, which makes him theorize that his dream girl imagined a dream boyfriend. Could this be true? Stop padding it out and get to the end already! Be patient. Andrew makes it back home that night, finding Sandra finishing up that new comic book. Look, see, she drew Jessica Rabbit shooting Mr. X. Good stuff. However, Andrew soon proceeds to act like a jerk again, and this time goes out of his way to demand that his girlfriend be obedient to him, fully making our main character an irredeemably evil monster that we totally hate.
Sandra, really what we need to do is establish some ground rules here. Okay, first, there's only room for one artist in this house, that would be me. Secondly, no more day excursions, okay? Your job is to stay here. My home to make me feel pampered and relaxed at all times. And thirdly, and this is really the key to the whole thing, no more running around with other guys, okay? Because I'll be damned if I'm going to share you anywhere. Are we clear? Asshole!
Holy smokes, this guy is buffalo crap. He makes the idiot boyfriend from Midsummer look like the Buddha in comparison. He's such a bastard that he makes Thundercatter look less horrible. Hey! Shut up, you know he's worse. This douche is a hideous sexist pig. He deserves to suffer. Fortunately, my wish is granted, because we see that Sandra brought the cable man home to install the D in her, pissing off her ex-boyfriend even more. Okay, writers, that is pretty funny and satisfying. Fed up with her betrayal, our abusive dick protagonist threatens to erase her once and for all, but then we get to our twist ending. Andrew is actually the imaginary dream lover all along, while Sandra is the real-world person who created him the whole time. Wow, that's actually a pretty decent twist. Yes, Sandra is real, the cable guy is real, the agent is real, this nice cabin in the woods is real, and belongs to her. Sandra created him. Andrew was intended to be her dream lover. He was her muse, inspiring her hard work. She was the one who needed a cure for writer's block. She designed him because she thought she needed a loving man to inspire faith in herself. You see, this whole time, Sandra is just a shy, insecure artist who lacked confidence in her own drawing skills and even in her own personal life. So she imagined a hot bad boy with similar hobbies who also looked like her favorite hero's character, which was Andrew. She thought she needed a cute, troubled bad boy who could love her, and she would love and fix him in return. But the truth is, he became more trouble than he was worth. She required help too, which he never gave in return. She constantly encouraged him, but he didn't help her in gratitude at any point in time. Yep, classic bad boys. They may seem hot at first, but they are too bad to ever be good at times. Take that, toxic cliche. Sandra was a shy, naive girl this whole time who simply needed some self-confidence in her life and was foolish enough to create a fantasy boyfriend to make her feel like a woman worthy of love, never realizing that she was already beautiful on the inside and outside before this point. More on that later. However, Andrew started becoming too real for her and was gaining his own poisonous hold over her, his own real life. Tragically, he was also growing into a cruel monster. A monster who was toxic in her life, to the point where she realized that their fantasy romance wasn't worth it.
Everyone creates the thing they dread.
It was simply that, a fantasy. A fantasy that was ruining her mind. Sandra needed someone to love her, but ultimately, somebody who loved her that was also a nice guy, and not a bad boy. While the cable guy is kind of bland, he does treat her with kindness, while Andrew felt like he needed to control her. His abusive habits symbolize how her imaginary love life was truly a toxic poison, destroying her insecure, fragile mental state. Wow, that's honestly kind of brilliant. You truly don't see it coming at all, and it adds so many layers to the plot in the end. That's so great! Though when you really think about it, what was actually happening whenever Sandra lived out her sexual fantasies with her dream lover? What? Was Sandra jacking off in bed every sex night? Yeah, insert American Pie joke here.
Are you masturbating again?
Holy fuck, is this wrong? But holy hell, is it erotic?
All disturbing sex jokes aside, I do really like this twist. Sandra was the true insecure artist who was imagining everything we saw in the plot all along. She was drawing him. She was hiding from her agent. She did all the real work. She was fighting her fake boyfriend in her mind the entire time. And best of all, this twist was planted very well. Seriously, the Hollywood agent uses gender-neutral terms when calling his client at the house. She really was doing stuff at the cabin like showering, baking, and drawing, and there were clever foreshadowing scenes here and there.
You are really beginning to bore me, Andrew.
Excuse me for not living up to your fantasy.
That's real clever, and it all ties together nicely in the big twist ending. She made it all up. Her love for a bad boy and an addiction to a fantasy love life proved to be both a literal and metaphorical toxic relationship, destroying her own self-worth. That's almost masterful. I say almost because, as usual, the show kind of hits the usual mixed reactions coming up. Pissed off at her own fictional lover's douchebaggery, she does what all women wish they could do. Kill her psycho ex-boyfriend.
Holy fuck, is this wrong? But holy hell, is it erotic?
Sandra decides that it's time to get back into reality, so she literally erases the toxic man-child from her life for the better. Now, I do love what theme the story is trying to go for here, but we also get another weakness drowning the episode. We have this very confusing moment where the show actually can't decide over whether or not we're meant to feel happy for Andrew's death or feel sympathy for the guy. No, really, the episode seems to be split over whether or not Andrew's death is meant to be his well-deserved karma, like on a Tales from the Crypt comeuppance plot, or a dark, sad fate, like it didn't have to be this way, and Andrew could have been a good guy, or settling on the midsummer conclusion, where it's left up to the viewers to decide if Andrew's death was deserved or not. I think it's deserved, but I'm honestly more pissed off because this feels like a really bad prototype ending for the epic haunting hour masterpiece, My Imaginary Friend. No, really, it's downright identical.
Hey, what are you doing? Whoa, what are you doing? Come on. Hey, stop it. Hey, stop it, come on. Why are you doing this?
But it's time to get back to
about it. Come on, we need each other. Just give me a chance. Come on! Hey! You need me? I can help you. Not anymore. This is really necessary. I want you.
You've been a great brother. And like you said, it's time to give up on my imaginary friend. All of them.
Oh, me too. I can't be. Oh. I don't want to go.
I'd say that the Haunting Hour ripped this off, but who are we kidding? The Haunting Hour did it 1,000 times better than this did. This entire Twilight Zone episode is simply a prototype of my imaginary friend, but in a romantic love triangle rather than a platonic love triangle. And I think I speak for all of us when I say that my imaginary friend was superior in every way compared to Dream Lover. Also, I just want to point out that Dream Lover did the whole abused girlfriend kills the abusive boyfriend in a morally gray twist ending thing before Midsummer did. So, boom, shots have been fired. Midsummer is overrated. Come at me. Anyways, Sandra erases the dickhead out of existence, and she comes to grips with how this was all a good choice, because she feels like a confident, strong, mature woman. She has a nice, hot new boyfriend now, and she's finally capable of getting back to her artwork once more, earning her well-deserved happy ending. And as usual, Saw Gerrera comes in to conclude the plot on a grim yet happy note with his closing narration.
For some, blank page can be a source of dread, but for Sandra Lomax, who's on our way to another bestseller, that nightmare is in the past, thanks to her own resolve and a sturdy erasure. Jewels of the trade.
Wait, why did we end with film footage getting cut? Wouldn't it make more sense to end on a comic transition? How?
Do not overthink this!
Well, whether you like it or not, that was the end to the Twilight Zone's love story, Dream Lover. How does it hold up? Well, I honestly thought it was alright. Not perfect or groundbreaking, but pretty decent. I would dare say that a part of me kind of likes it a whole lot. In keeping with the Valentine's Day theme we have today, I would say that there is a lot to love in this episode. I do truly believe there were great elements here. However, there was some bad stuff that held it back as well. Let's get the bad stuff out of the way first. Andrew's character arc from a misunderstood loner to full-blown abusive control freak felt rushed and murky. This episode slows down in some of the wrong scenes. The cheap sexual content was just that, cheap. Shannon Elizabeth is only there to be hot. The soundtrack was kind of odd. There were some massive wasted opportunities scattered around, and worst of all was the casting decision of our real human character. No, not Adrian Pasdar, he was pretty good. I mean our true human character who the audience is supposed to connect with, Sandra. I'll just say it. Shannon Elizabeth is not the typical insecure nerd girl with relationship problems and self-worth issues. I mean, be real with me, folks. Can you honestly say that Shannon Elizabeth, famous funny supermodel and sex symbol, Shannon Elizabeth is an insecure antisocial loser like us? Shannon Elizabeth is that poor artsy nerd girl who gets lost in her own art world? She's the kind of girl who cowered in the back of the classroom and couldn't get a date? Shannon Elizabeth is that person who collects Star Wars toys, comic book posters, and has a severe lack of a love life? Shannon Elizabeth is that antisocial loser with mental trauma and needs to be isolated from others to recollect her thoughts and find herself. Yeah, you get what I'm saying with this, right? This character suffers from a huge case of WTF casting agency. Shannon Elizabeth might fit the excellent attempt to throw us off track, but she is not the average insecure, nerdy, shy girl who the ladies in the audience can 100% relate with. Much like Carrie, this woman is far too hot to be seen as a loser with no love life. The show could have at least tried to make her seem a tad like a nerd, even in her past childhood. We never see proof that Shannon was ever a nerd before gaining her self-confidence. We don't see her wearing glasses, or with her nerdy fangirl stuff, or struggling to be social, and they don't even try to make her seem ugly or insecure at one point. In Batman Returns, the director at least tried to make Catwoman seem like a geeky loser before she transforms into the sexual femme fatale she was deep down. Here on the Twilight Zone, Sandra is hot and confident before she realizes that she was beautiful all along deep down. Which just hurts the true twist of the character's story overall. How inspirational would it have been if we saw old photos or flashbacks or something of Sandra being a total nerd with braces and acne and ugly clothes and whatnot before revealing that she grew up into the sexy Shannon Elizabeth? You know, she was once deemed a loser as a kid, but when she surpassed her awkward puberty stages, she grew up beautiful on the outside, but was still overcoming her inner demons. Succeeding in the end of this episode, where she realizes that there was nothing wrong with her or her personality to begin with. She'd tried to be like other girls, dating bad boys and having an active sex life, but appreciates who she was all along. That would have been amazing! But nope, instead we have to have Shannon Elizabeth looking like her hot self already, because sex sells and whatever. It just felt like both a weak casting choice and a truly wasted opportunity to make this woman deeper than what the plot goes for here. While Shannon Elizabeth is not a bad actress, she simply isn't as deep a character as the show aims for. That's really the only awful element that brought the story out of the gold standard for me. Shannon Elizabeth's role as a nerd girl growing into a hot chick, like as if this was on the same level as She's All That. It just felt like a big disconnect from the females in the audience. However, I can overlook it and still say that it was understandable, since the big twist is that we're supposed to be tricked into thinking that Sandra is the dream lover, when really she's not. So it wasn't a total plot-destroying death flag, just a weak hindrance. Overall, this story does have its great elements. Dream Lover is a cautionary tale about how being stuck in a fantasy life and desiring fictional characters over the harsh reality is a terrible way to live. The only way to feel fulfilled is not with a waifu or an imaginary friend or heck even a huge sex life at all, but with working on finding out who you are. We need confidence in ourselves. We need to learn what we love in a romantic partner and what we want in our future through experience. Yes, sometimes crushing on fictional characters can actually help you learn what you love in people, including romantic partners. However, dwelling on toxic relationships only harms you and is unhealthy. This episode wants to show us that you should never chase a fantasy, be it a cartoon crush, a deluded bad boy fetish, or isolating yourself from the rest of the world, thinking that it's all for the best. Sometimes it's okay to get away from the world or even crush on a drawing, but obsessing over it is wrong. This episode is full of multiple unique life lessons and maintains a very well-structured narrative in the end. However, it wasn't perfect. Honestly, I would say save yourself time and check out The Haunting Hours My Imaginary Friend instead, because it is this exact same plot, but a million times better. It has the fractured mental state between what's real and what's illusion, follows an insecure, naive protagonist finding themselves, a love triangle, good morals, a good twist, dark hallucinations, ends with the imaginary influences getting erased in favor of reality, deep concepts, great lessons on escaping from toxic people and bad thinking, and is all around brilliant. However, My Imaginary Friend is so much better because it doesn't succumb to the cheap sex appeal and lame drama like Dream Lover does. While I do appreciate Dream Lover a whole lot more after watching it so many times, My Imaginary Friend was better. So better that, you know what? I'm retconning my Haunting Hour score. Yes, seriously, I'm feeling so much of the love this holiday that I'm going back to the Haunting Hour and retconning My Imaginary Friend's 8 out of 10 into a perfect score. That's right, My Imaginary Friend is now a perfect 10 out of 10 Gold Skull score. After watching the reboot Twilight Zone's take on this plot, it made me appreciate what the Haunting Hour did with this concept so much more. Enjoy, my Haunting Hour fans. My Imaginary Friend is perfect because this episode made me realize what this exact plot could have been if it fell into the cheap ratings traps that this show unapologetically dives right into. But let's get back into the Twilight Zone's limelight and end this. While the Haunting Hour did it better, the Twilight Zone's attempt came close, but was a few flowers short of a sweet bouquet. So, I grant the Twilight Zone's Dream Lover a silver skull. I do love this episode, but much like Coat Rat Cowboy, I can admit that it did have its large glaring flaws. This love story has rushed character arcs, some long, boring moments, cheap sex appeal that doesn't satisfy, and a rather mixed casting decision. However, it does have some excellent foreshadowing, a good social commentary, a strong structure for the overall narrative, decent lessons, and you can tell that there was genuine effort mixed into the production. I think that the casual viewer might find this one average. It's kind of an average, okay, meh episode that doesn't do too much to rock the Twilight Zone boat. However, I do believe that there is definitely room for improvement that could make this tale into something more. Or you can just save yourself the time and watch My Imaginary Friend. Either way, both give you a similar plot. I can recommend seeing this one only if you want to see My Imaginary Friend as an edgy, adult-rated prototype. That does sound a little promising, at least. In the end, Dream Lover had its heart set high in the clouds, yet came out as merely passable. Still, you can tell that there was certainly some affectionate love poured into it. Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe, or just tune in for more videos posted here on Wolf Entertainment. I'm your host, Catastrophe, and I wish you all a happy Valentine's Day.
We're no strangers to love. No, no, love, love. No, no, you know the rules. Yeah, yeah. And so do I. So do I. A full commitment's what I'm thinking of. Yeah, you wouldn't get this from any other frog. I just wanna tell you how I'm feeling. Gotta make you understand. Never gonna give you up. Never gonna let you down. Never gonna turn around and desert you. Never gonna make you cry. Never gonna say goodbye. Never gonna tell the lie and hurt you. Yeah, no, we've known each other for so long. Yeah, your heart's been aching, but you're too shy to say